Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be turning this into this. So this is an overlooked tool called surface smoothing. It pretty much takes any jagged contours or just any weird artifacts of triangles and makes them go away. So you add surface smoothing by going to here, edit surface, and smooth surface. Now before we do that, we want to make sure that there's not any erroneous line work lurking in our drawing, that our surface isn't crazy big. So aside from just zooming out and looking at it, an easy way to do that is to kind of look at what coordinates you are currently. We're around 3,000, 7,000, so we're going to go to surface properties, statistics, general, and you can see here that our maximum y coordinate is going to be around 7,500. That sounds about right. That's kind of where we are right now. But our minimum one is around 3. So that means we have something around 0, 0. That'll sometimes happen if you're clumsy with copying and pasting, all sorts of reasons, but that's not good. That is no bueno. So we want to make sure we remove whatever is at 0, 0. Otherwise, it'll literally load forever and it'll freeze your CAD and you'll hate yourself. So in this case, I just planted something here just to show what would happen. We're just going to go ahead and delete that, and then we're going to rebuild our surface. But just double check that you don't have any crazy line work before you get started with this. It's happened before, and you'll be scratching your head for hours. We're just going to go ahead and add the smoothing. So, a couple settings here. A lot of these you can ignore. Just make sure it's on natural neighbor interpolation. It's going to be grid based. Now the spacing. This is how often it adds points to kind of smooth everything out. Basically adds a bunch of triangles to smooth everything over. I like to start with 5 feet each. If it's a really small site, I'll do 2 or 3 feet. You're going to want to specify your output region, so you'll click this little 3 dots right here, type in S for entire surface. You see it's only going to make around 1,400 points, so I might go down to 4. I like to keep my surface total around under 30,000 points. CAD can handle a lot, and just remember, video games have millions and millions of points. CAD surely can hold, like, a couple 10,000. It should be fine. So I'll do 3 in this case. We're going to click OK. Now, you notice I have points on here. Some firms run with points on. I would recommend turning all of them off. I don't really see a reason to have them. I just don't use them. If you want to still keep points on, you can just edit your surface style, go to points, the derived points, set them to nothing. I like to just go ahead and turn them off, so I'm going to do that now. Boom. So, looking at this now, you'll notice the building looks kind of weird. So this is one of the issues with surface smoothing, the first one you run into. So our finished floor is at a nice even 102. Surface smoothing kind of freaks out, like you'll see if we turn on triangles here, it's trying to smooth this flat area. It's trying to smooth the whole entire surface, and it kind of freaks out when it sees this flat area here. It's like thinking, well, maybe I should smooth it. I don't know what it is. I think it's rounding errors. So really any flat area, it's going to freak out if it's at an even elevation. So the solution for that is pretty simple. All you got to do is just take that flat area and raise it by a very, very small number. So small it's not even going to affect your design. And we're going to rebuild our surface. And you'll see that goes away. Another thing to be aware of is, let's say I'm adding new feature lines. You can see here, judging by the triangles, I have not added this feature line right here. So I'm going to go ahead and add these 2 curved feature lines to my surface. Add them to my FG. Keep all these settings. And I'm going to put on contour so we can clearly see what's going on here. And you can see some weird stuff is going on now. Really weird stuff. So whenever you're adding break lines to your surface and you have surface smoothing on it, you need to go into surface properties, go into definition, and make sure smooth surface is the last thing on this list. The reason is that it smooths and adds all these triangles and points, and then your break line is adding its points, but smoothing has already determined what that area is supposed to be like. But smoothing hasn't seen this break line, so it didn't know to account for it. So now, if we make sure smoothing sees that break line, it'll smooth that area nice as well. You'll have to do that anytime you add a feature line. So It may be wise to leave smoothing until the very end, so that way you're not constantly hating yourself and having to go into surface properties and move that thing down. Now another thing to be aware of with surface smoothing, if we take a look over here, looking at these feature lines, you see we have an elevation point and elevation point. Looking at these slopes, you can tell it's kind of a high point there. It's kind of a high point. It's at an odd angle, but just bear with me for a second. If we draw a line there, showing what that would look like, you'll notice surface smoothing, these contours don't really follow that high point anymore. A lot of people will just rely on triangles drawing between these 2 points, and they'll just call it a day. With surface smoothing, you need to be more specific, because it'll kind of just mush anything that isn't super explicit with feature lines. So we're going to create a feature line here, so that way it'll actually tighten up this high point area. I'm going to make sure that this is the right hierarchy, although I don't think it really matters. Perfect. I'm going to add this to my surface, FG. That's fine. I'm going to make sure that it gets put at the bottom, surface smoothing. Okay. You see now it's that break line that we expected it. So be careful with swales and break lines. You can't really just assume the surface is going to draw triangles, because surface smoothing kind of needs to know what the break lines are supposed to be. So you're going to have to be a little bit more specific. I think that's a good thing, but that might be annoying for you. The last thing to be aware of is, let's say I have these feature lines over here. I'm expanding my surface, right? I kind of got the area down over here, but now I have some other areas I need to add that's further off. And I'm going to add these feature lines now. Go to surface properties, move smoothing down. And you notice, even after we moved it down, it's still kind of jagged over here. Isn't surface smoothing supposed to be smoothing that? So if we look at triangles here, we'll notice something interesting. What's going on there? There's no smoothing. It's not adding any triangles or points here. So what gives? Well, it turns out when we added smoothing and we told it to do the entire surface, it just memorized what the surface boundary currently looked like. So all it's looking for is in this old boundary, it's going to add all those smoothing points. But when our boundary changes, it goes over here now, it doesn't update. It remembers what the surface looked like when you created it. So if you're expanding your surface, you'll need to go in here, remove this surface smoothing from the definition, and recreate it. 3, 3, surface, and you see now it smoothed this area as well. That's it for this one. Hopefully you guys learned something. Thanks for watching.